Block 5. Cultivating crops. Lesson 1. Important steps of crop production. Plants of the same kind grown in a field on a large scale are called crops. The main steps of crop production are plowing, sowing, manuring, irrigation, weeding, and harvesting. Manuring, weeding, and irrigation are done until the crops are harvested. Steps of crop production. Plowing. First, the soil is prepared by turning and loosening it. This helps the seeds to get air and water. 2. Sowing. Seeds are sown in well-watered soil. They are sown at a regular distance from each other and at a proper depth in the soil. 3. Manuring. Manure is added to the soil so that plants get essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, NPK, and minerals. 4. Irrigation. Crops are watered regularly by the sprinklers or by the drip irrigation method. Weeding. The unwanted plants called weeds are removed from the field. 6. Harvesting. The fully grown crops are cut and gathered. Alright, so what is plowing? Plowing. First, the soil is prepared by turning and loosening it. Of course, this helps the seed to get air and water. Now, let us watch a video on plowing. This is plowing by the machine. So, as you can see, these little blades, I think they might be loosening the soil. So, this is the end of plowing. Let's move on to the next step. Alright, so now let me explain the process of sowing. As you know, sowing is a process when we sow the seeds in well-watered soil. As you can see in this picture, this is the process of sowing. Most of us are familiar with sowing. When we want to grow a plant from the seed, we put our seed in a well-watered soil. Then we sow them at a regular distance from each other and at a proper depth in the soil. Sowing or seeding is an art of placing seeds in the soil, of course, to have a very good germination in the field. So, in the process of sowing, we have to sow the seeds at a regular distance from each other and at a proper depth in the soil. Why? Because a perfect seeding gives the correct amount of seeds per unit area, correct depth at which the seed is placed in the soil, and the correct spacing between row to row. Row to row means when we are sowing the seeds in a line. Now, let's move on to the world of manuring. Manuring. Manuring means the process of addition of manures and fertilizers to increase soil fertility is called manuring. Manure consists of organic matter like plant and animal waste. Manure is added to the soil so that plants get essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, NPK, and minerals. What does NPK mean? NPK means nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium needed for crops to grow. As you can see in this picture, this is the plant or animal waste, or in other words, manure. Manure. It is the organic substance added to the soil because manure is obtained from organic matter like plant and animal waste. Manure is not at all harmful to the environment. They are needed in large quantities and of course they have a pretty bad smell, like something is getting rotten. Alright, now it's time to move on to the fourth step, which is irrigation. Crops are watered regularly by the sprinklers or by the drip irrigation method. What is a drip irrigation method? Drip irrigation method is a method of irrigation in which crops are watered by dripping water onto the soil at the base of the plant. As you can see in this little picture. As you can see the little pipe and somewhere from it is leaking. And this little water drop is coming directly on the plant, just on the base of this little plant. Doesn't this little one look nice? Then you guessed right. This is a water sprinkler. Water sprinkler saves water rather than using a hose all the time to waste water. Here is another picture of the drip irrigation method. As you can see again, from a little pipe, there's this little water droplet coming out. So we can plant a seed in here. Then the water will come to the seed. Then after a few days, this seed hiding in the soil will turn into a new plant. What are the advantages of the drip irrigation? First of all, it saves water. And second, they give the equal water distribution. Moving on to the next step, which is weeding. What is weeding? Weeding is a process in which the unwanted plants called weeds are removed from the field. If we do not remove the weeds from the field, then it may take up all the nutrients and minerals we give to the other plant. For example, say you have a rose seed and soon that rose seed grows into a new rose plant. But sitting just next to that rose plant, there is another plant growing just next to the rose plant. Then, if you do not cut that little plant near the rose plant, of course, it will take up all the nutrients and minerals, and the real rose plant will die. This is why weeding is an important step of crop production. Manuring, weeding, and irrigation are done until the crops are harvested. Now, I am going to show you a short video on weeding. Alright, so that's all for weeding. Alright guys, now finally we come to the last step, harvesting. In this method, the fully grown crops are cut and gathered. Alright, so let's see how a harvester collects. As you can see, this is the harvesting machine. It harvests the crops. That's pretty gigantic, isn't it? Such a king. All right. So these are the important steps of crop production. So let me tell you a little fact. There are two types of crops. In India, Kharif and Rabi are two such groups of crops. For Kharif crops, they grow in the monsoon. They are sown in the months of June or July and harvested in September to October. And winter crops or Rabi crops are sown in the months of October or November after the monsoon rains are over, and they are harvested in March to April. Thank you very much. That's all for today. See you later. Practice questions. Question 1. Circle the steps of crop production. Harvesting, weeding, and sowing are the steps of crop production. 2. A. Dash is done to loosen the soil. Answer. Plowing is done to loosen the soil. B. Dash is done so that the unwanted plants do not use up the nutrients in the soil. Answer. Weeding is done so that the unwanted plants do not use up the nutrients in the soil. 3. What will happen if crops are not irrigated? If the crops are not irrigated, then they won't get enough water and they will die. Now, let us do the worksheet. Question 1. Label each picture using words from the box. A. Manuring. B. Sowing. C. Harvesting. And D. Irrigation. Question 2. Complete the table. Removing unwanted plants. How is it done? We remove the unwanted plants, called weeds, from the field. How is this action important? The weeds might use up the nutrients and minerals. Question 2. B. Watering plants. How is it done? We use the sprinklers or the drip irrigation method. How is this action important? The plants may die if we do not give water. Question 3. What will happen if a farmer does not add manure to the field when cultivating crops? Answer. The plants will not get essential nutrients and minerals. Thank you.